we also sponsor and partner with the Lionel Messi. And I always joke that there's another competitor who works with another football star, right? And whenever you think about it, it's like, I always say, like, bigger the risk, bigger the reward. We were the first to introduce copy trading. That today almost all of our competitors copied the idea because it's a brilliant idea. But I always kind of try to exclude meme coins from the entire ecosystem. You can even treat them as a lottery tickets on a blockchain. It's kind of a gamble. It's a game that people play. Some get rich, some don't. We're planning to invest around $10 million in both funds to educate new generation of talent.
This is Token 2049 Dubai. My name is Madiha Khan for Voice of Crypto, and right now I have with me Mr. Vugar from Bitget. Thank you so much for joining us. First, I would want to ask you, we are at Dubai. Token 2049 is happening for the first time over here. What has your experience been so far?
I do love it. I love the event, and honestly, we had the rain and flood. And as someone who runs operation, I always say, like, whatever could go wrong would go wrong, and this is exactly what we saw. But I'm really surprised how the city is really well prepared for things like that. And also, I was in these groups of different speakers and organizers. Everyone was so helpful. Like, we were having a panel. It was like an opening panel actually we were hosting, and team members like, okay, I'm here. I have a 4x4. Who shall I pick? It was such a beautiful a community spirit, and I think we all lived through crypto winter, and this a crypto rain before the event was a good example, how people who really believe and they're really here to, of course, a healthy competition is important, but also helping each other is very important. And I think that was a great testament how everyone put their forces together to make this event happen.
That's great. I love your perspective, and I also really like the fact that you pointed out the entire community spirit. I also personally believe that in the Web3 industry, there's a lot of passion that is running in everything. So let's start with talking about Bitget. What was the prime inspiration for it?
Bitget, honestly, I think there are two cool stories. The Bitget itself is one of the youngest exchanges, even though we are today competing for a top 4, top 5. It started relatively 5 years ago, and the idea was that, okay, there's a really need for another platform and what we can do better, because inspiration was more of a traditional financial tools that was getting into a neo banking and copy trading and taking that proven concepts and bringing it alive in the crypto. I think that was kind of our magic dust to make Bitget what it is today. Today we are a number one copy trading platform within the crypto industry. We have 150,000 traders who post their trades where people could easily copy it. And I think it's a very good way how to, an average person like myself, start getting into the trading, because you always want, especially in crypto, all these stories where people got rich over the night with a small amount of money, but you don't know where to start. You don't know how to research. And when you know that there's a professional trader who already did the research, who already has a proven track record, it's very easy to copy that something is close to your heart and then tweak here and there and get a better chance, especially if you're busy and you don't know where to start. And this was of course, the journey, what propelled us to the number one. Definitely, we also sponsor and partner with the Lionel Messi, which is putting us in a map and getting us access to a bigger audience of the football lovers. And I always joke that there's another competitor who works with another football star, right? And whenever you think about it, it's a very cool, two football stars, they compete in a World Cup, let's say, and then we compete in this arena. And I think it's very great to see that, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, crypto was just for a niche, but today it's going mainstream, and I'm really happy about that.
That's great. When we talk about trading, how do you and how does the company sort of deal with the volatile market, and despite that, stay on top of the game?
I always say, bigger the risk, bigger the reward. But definitely, market is volatile, and it's not only about the exchanges. It's about how the industry is speculative itself. Even though we see more and more regulations coming and happening, but another important point is that we always talk about speculation in a very short time frame, because industry is so fast. It never sleeps, it never stops, and we all always check. It's every day people are oh, Bitcoin is up, Bitcoin is down, but usually in a like a traditional finance, you only look in a large portion of the time, and especially if you use crypto as a long-term investment portfolio tool, then we see that Bitcoin is the best performing asset. It did better than S&P 500. It did better than Apples and Amazons out there in the last 3 years, in the last 4 years. When you take that chunk of the time, you see the industry is going up. But definitely, there's also some players like a Memecoins and small projects who come. They're very speculative. They're not an investment vehicles. And if you judge, then definitely it is. But I always kind of try to exclude meme coins from the entire ecosystem because they don't have any purpose. They're like a cultural aspects. We can even treat them as a like a lottery tickets on a blockchain. It's kind of a gamble. It's a game that people play. Some get rich, some don't. Some definitely lose. More than 90% lose. But we shouldn't be judging crypto because of that speculative meme coins, because there are so many like pink slips in the traditional stock market, like the small companies that you don't judge stock market based on them. You judge them based on the like Amazons and S&P 500s. Therefore, I think we have our S&P 500, which is like a top 10, let's say, coins by the market cap, who are doing amazing thing. Of course, like Ethereum with its infrastructure. We all know what Ripple is doing. We all know like a Cardano Foundation and all the other big players, Polkadots, that are bringing the technology and doing something really, really huge that is not only about the speculation of the coins.
That's very nicely put. You just a while ago mentioned about how another football player is, the face of a competition. Talking about competition, what do we do differently at Bitget to sort of, stay a little bit ahead of the competition?
As I mentioned there, for example, we were the first to introduce copy trading. That today almost all our competitors copied the idea because it's a brilliant idea to work with. But also, I believe as an industry, we need to understand like exchanges. We are very much scrutinized. We are like a big players, and everyone really follows us. And also, competition is so tight that we compete in very small margins of the profit on the transaction values, because we never make money if someone loses or wins or makes 10x as 100x, because we only gain from that transaction. And transaction cost, if you go and check, you'll see that it's like a 0.0 something competition, because the users are really sensitive on that front. But when it comes doing something really, really different, the one thing I fell in love recently and Bitget is we have our own token. It's a BGB token. We are the best performing centralized exchange token, which gives a lot of advantages. And the best advantage, especially for the new starters, is we have our launch pool and launchpad project. It means you can stake your USDT or BGB token, and you'll get airdrop the new tokens.
Wow.
And we've been performing much better than all the other players, including Binance itself, in terms of in our recent launch pools and launchpads. I think the way I see the launch pool as a product or launchpad as a project is that we have an audience. They're already educated. They know how the industry works. And we have these beautiful developers who believe in their idea and develop. We kind of match these two together in a lesser riskier or lesser kind of volatile way, especially when we bundle more than one projects together and enable people to invest their USDTs and BGBs in order to make the profits, get airdrops, and get some benefit. Eventually, the project gains a lot of users and wallet holders. It's like a turning win into win-win situation, and I think it's a very great place to start, especially if you're new to the trading. But also, I want to celebrate all our competition and big players out there who innovate non-stop. And also, I think as a centralized exchange, we play a huge role onboarding like a first-time users, turning non-coiners into the digital asset holders, thanks to very easy login processes, very easy onboarding journeys, and a lot of funds and money were invested in the industry. We look our competition. There are so much educational resources available. It's a lot of money and time invested, and I think the role we play educating in the market is very valuable. And it's not about Bitget, it's all our players that who invest non-stop and to educate the audience, but also to develop the new talent. And at Bitget, we are very proud because we recently announced 2 educational projects, a blockchain for use and blockchain for her. We are planning to invest around $10 million in both funds to educate new generation of talents, entrepreneurs, or as simple as college and university students who want to come and explore this industry. And as a CEO myself, I recently also announced an internship project for the young people who want to come and learn and they don't know where to start, especially if they're the fresh graduates or they're still at the university. This summer there's a beautiful opportunity. We are hiring around 20 people who can come and learn and work with us for the 3 months, and it is a paid opportunity. And at the end, the successful ones will bring them across the world to Dubai, where they can physically work with me and also get to know how things are done within our industry. And it will be closer to a next event season towards the autumn. I think there's so many things that centralized exchange and big players can do to educate an industry, and I think we should always jump on that opportunities that are available to bring more people, not only just to trade, but also to create and to work within the industry.
Definitely, that's a great initiative because I also personally feel that in the Web3 industry, one of the things that is of paramount importance is education and information, and you are really focusing on the generation that's going to come in. Because how much would you agree with the fact that we still have an exposure to the world, and then we've seen the evolution of Web3 happen, but the coming generation is perpetually going to be in the virtual world. So it is also a responsibility sort of to make sure that the education happens. So I would want to sort of circle back on that, but before that, I just want to understand from you is we have a lot of regulations, policies, and compliances which changes from country to country. What are some of the things that you personally feel are going to help the Web3 world with per se regulations and policies and compliance?
I myself come from a policy making educational background, and one of the first things I did when I took over the CEO position at Bitget was trying to invest to expand our compliance team, and we almost tripled in the size. And if you go to our job portal, you see that every time there's at least a 20-30 new positions across the world we are hiring, because it is a very talent intensive market, and again, developing talent for expansion of the industry is important, whether it's a tech talent, while we always focus on that, but as simple as a marketing, human resources, lawyers, accountants, we definitely need these people to come learn and start working. And expanding our team to tackle that question is very important, because if you don't have right resources and right talent, you can't go and tackle, there are around almost 200 countries in the world, and if every country needs I don't know, 3-4 team members at least, it's another 500 people.
Right.
Hiring and finding this talent is very time consuming and also resource intensive. But it doesn't mean we are just waiting here for that 500 people to join our team. We are trying to be as compliant as possible in all the markets we operate. We recently acquired a WASP license, for example, in Poland and Lithuania. We are talking with a lot of legislators in different countries to make sure that we remain compliant. And also centralized exchanges, very complex. The services they provide is very complex for a single body to come and say yes or no. And sometimes it needs to be explained what we are doing and how we are doing, how things work. And as a policy, someone comes from policy background, I think it's very important to work with legislators and also policymakers in a way that we can educate them to understand what's happening. And I think I'm really tired of giving these examples. We also what happened with a Facebook and Cambridge Analytica case, and Europe introduced GDPR, and we all end up in this a mobile website that when you log into any website, you'll have this a black screen with, oh, I consent. You don't know what you're consenting for.
Right.
Kind of problem solved? Actually, it didn't. Are we giving consent blindly to million websites every day we go? We definitely do. Did it, protect our rights? It doesn't. Therefore, I don't think that bringing more and more legislation that will be roadblockers for innovation and a very bad user experience will scrutinize this industry. We're just 10 years, I don't know, less than 20 years old industry. We're super young for bringing so much big legislation. And again, I always say legislation should be foolproof.
Right.
Having very complicated language just doesn't work. Therefore, I love what's happening in the Middle East, especially in Dubai with Wara and ADGM. Very straightforward, very clear. But in all cases, I believe it's better to have a legislation than have this, everything open to interpretation moment. We saw what's happened in US and it didn't go well. Therefore, even the worst legislation is better than no legislation. And I hope that more and more policymakers and governments will be introducing like a very user-friendly legislation that they don't just sit down or write or just copy from each other, but actually consult with the end users, developers, innovators, because it's not about just controlling or building the frame for the centralized exchanges. It's about all the innovation that's happening, all the ventures that are built, and if we end up, controlling or killing innovation, how this industry can grow.
That's great, and that's very nicely put, because this is really the need of the hour. I just wanted to ask you one question, which is still around regulations. That you're based out of London and Dubai, both, right? So if you could just pick any one place and just tell us how you've seen the evolution in the regulation and policies happen. You could pick anyone.
Uh, I heard like some entities in United Arab Emirates to introduce the legislation, and honestly, I was so much impressed by the long-term vision and how the legislation was not prepared to control or to deploy today, but it was in the thought, in the mind, what's going to happen after 10 years, how the ventures are built, and considering like different players and making it simple and straightforward. And we see it not only in crypto but all over the UAE system when they introduce single window system to start a business and to do your visas and everything else. While in Europe it was always about different entities imposing different rules, and usually in European society you need some like a really huge catalyst happening, and then you see this a very complicated legislation coming in place and everyone kind of coming into standstill and restarting again. And I think that's very bad for the industry. I think we should learn to introduce kind of a change the engine while plane is flying instead of grounding it and then thinking, okay, what we're gonna do next. And that's what I see happening in Europe. And I have some friends who got debanked by the banks because they were investing into crypto. And funnily enough, the same bank, I don't want to name the name, they are the largest investors in a crypto venture. And this is such like a double standard. People actually, they don't know what they're doing. And this is like, I think we need to kind of avoid that. And it can serve a good example for all the policymakers out there. They should build the policies that are really long term and also consider all the end users, not just copy and paste or very limiting ones, because I think if something is too limiting, then people find gaps and different ways. It's better to introduce something very clear, easy to apply and transparent that everyone complies.
That's great. Since you've already announced and told us that you're going to be onboarding, a lot of people from the young generation, and there's a lot of education that's going to happen. I want you to give all of our young minds out there one piece of advice before they venture into the Web3 world. And for this one, I want you to directly address our audience.
Oh, young people. I always say like, usually people come to crypto industry because they want to earn money or make money. I came to crypto industry because I already made money through the startup in Web2 industry, and I came here not to lose money and find the next big thing. And there are so many opportunities out there that can help us to diversify portfolios, make smart investments. But as a young person, I believe there's a huge room to take risks. And I'm not talking about financial risks, I'm talking about building and developing and believing. Therefore, the world has room for all the ideas. Even the most craziest or most stupidest idea can become the next $1 billion thing. Therefore, I want to invite all the young people, if you have a slightest idea, come and build it on the chain, because there's so many opportunities. And stay curious and always believe in your thoughts, because once you start something, even if you fail, you will learn. And learning is the only way that can propel your career, your life, and take you to the next level. Therefore, stay curious and never be afraid of taking risks, but also make that smart choices that can take you to the next big thing.
That's great. There's one question that I'm personally very curious about. I want to know is if there is a crypto founder whose journey has sort of inspired you or you followed.
there are actually the way I came to the industry was I don't want to give the exact name. Most people know, but I always was fascinated by these people who have their journeys and nothing can take them away. Like, is it market going up and down? Are you sad, heartbroken, broke up with your partner? I don't know, your home got flooded. Like, no matter what happens, like the people with a discipline who really, wake up in the early morning, they work non-stop without any compromise. I think that kind of a work ethic inspired me, and that's what I'm trying to do, even though I'm a very bad procrastinator and I try to push myself all the time. But I think the journeys of people who stick to a discipline really, really inspires me. And I think they are the people who take us to the next level.
That's brilliant. One final thing is we have a lot of complex terms and jargons and concepts in the world of Web3. If you had to pick any one concept or jargon and sort of either debunk it or explain what it means, it's like a small tutorial bit to give. Any one concept that you'd explain.
Definitely. I think one of the concepts I love and I not recently discovered, it's been around for a long time, is something called slippage. Slippage is a trading term. It can be very complex to explain. But the short way to explain is that most of the time, probably you heard this news, someone put $100 to a coin or a project very early on, and over the night they become a millionaire. But they became millionaires on the paper. In actual market, they hold so much tokens that they can go and sell all these tokens for an exchange $1 million and take that cash out. Because if they do that, the price will go down because they're such a huge holder. And this process is called slippage, the difference between demand and supply and how it can bring that price down. Therefore, next time when you hear someone got lucky over the night and made $100 to $1 million, think twice. It definitely is possible, but will someone be able to physically take $1 million out? Probably not. Therefore, next time you hear another fascinating crypto story, just go and check how things worked out for the people. But of course, if you bought, I don't know, Bitcoin 10 years ago for like 20 cents and today it's over the 70K, definitely you could make that much money. But it doesn't happen with all projects, or it doesn't happen over and over again all the time, even though media loves to pick that kind of a news. Therefore, next time when you are fascinated about someone becoming rich quick, think about slippage.
Wow, that is brilliantly put. Thank you so much for giving us your time and explaining so many things so insightfully to us.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great to chat.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vugar. I am the voice of crypto.